The night was thick, the kind of darkness that seemed to breathe with you, as if it pressed closer each time you blinked. Jack's old sedan rattled along a forgotten road that had no markings, no lights, nothing but the endless walls of corn swaying on both sides. His headlights carved narrow tunnels into the blackness, and the radio muttered static, catching fragments of ghost stations that seemed too broken to belong to this world. Jack's hands gripped the wheel tighter than he realized. He told himself he was just tired from the drive. But still, there was a hollow weight in his stomach, the uneasy sense that he was trespassing into someplace people weren't meant to travel at night. The corn whispered as the wind pushed it in long waves, and sometimes the sound rose into something too much like words. He tried not to listen, but his thoughts betrayed him. What if someone was standing out there? What if the stalks weren't empty? He shook his head, cursed softly, tried to focus on the cracked line of asphalt. And then, up ahead, through the veil of darkness, a shape. A house, wooden and sagging, its roof bent like an old spine. A single yellow porch light glowed weakly, bleeding against the night. Beside it, the silhouette of a barn loomed, tall and patient, its doors shut like lips keeping terrible secrets. For a moment, Jack felt relief. Civilization, he thought. Maybe someone who could give directions, maybe even a place to call for help if his car gave up. But relief soured quickly. The house wasn't welcoming. It looked like a trap, like the one lit window was an eye staring back at him. "Keep driving," a voice in his head whispered. "Don't stop. Don't even look at it too long." But another voice, quieter, insisted, "What if you need it? What if you don't have a choice?" And then the car stuttered. A cough, a shudder, a lurch. The engine sputtered like a dying breath. Jack slammed the wheel, tried to coax it forward, but the vehicle groaned and rolled to a reluctant stop right there in front of the farm. The radio went silent. The night seemed to swallow him whole. Jack popped the hood, stepped out into the cool air. Gravel crunched under his boots, loud in the silence. The cornfields rustled, restless, shifting like something alive. He leaned into the engine bay, tried to make sense of wires and belts he barely understood. His breath fogged in the pale beam of his headlights. And then he froze. Out of the corner of his eye, something stood at the edge of the field. Tall. Still. A man, maybe 6.5 feet, broad shoulders under overalls, a wide-brimmed hat shadowing his face. He didn't move, didn't speak. Just watched. Jack's skin prickled. He blinked, heart hammering. When he looked again, the figure was gone. Only the restless corn swayed. You imagined it. Stress, exhaustion. Just your mind playing tricks. But the thought didn't help. It made it worse. If he couldn't trust his eyes, what could he trust? He slammed the hood, muttering, "Come on, just start, please." He twisted the key again and again, but the car only coughed, then died. He looked toward the farmhouse. The yellow porch light flickered once, like it had heard him. Something about that flicker felt like a response. An invitation. Or a warning. Jack crossed the dirt driveway. Each step felt heavy, like he was dragging himself into a decision he'd regret. The porch steps creaked as he climbed them. The door wasn't locked. It groaned open as if it had been waiting years for him. The smell hit him first. Copper. Rot. The sickly sweet thickness of old blood. He gagged, pulled his shirt over his nose. Inside, the walls were lined with tools, not neatly hung, but jammed into wood, crusted in stains too dark to be rust alone. Cleavers, hooks, serrated knives. Some of them still glistened. he whispered to himself. It's a farm. It's just farm tools. Don't be stupid. But deep down he knew. This wasn't farming. This was something else. The floorboards moaned above him. A slow, deliberate step. Someone was upstairs. Jack's breath caught in his throat. His instincts screamed to leave. But his legs didn't move. His eyes were fixed on the staircase. And then he saw him. At the top of the stairs stood the farmer. A massive man, shoulders so wide they filled the hallway, his face half in shadow. His eyes caught the faint glow of the porch light behind Jack, reflecting it like an animal's. In his right hand, he held a meat hook, long and rusted, dangling like a pendulum. He didn't speak. He didn't blink. He just watched. And Jack understood, this wasn't a man. This was something that lived for the hunt. The farmer took one slow step down. The sound was deafening. Jack stumbled back, heart pounding, every nerve screaming. Run. And so he did. Jack bolted from the doorway, his boots hammering against the porch steps, lungs burning already from the weight of terror. Behind him, the heavy footfalls of the farmer shook the boards, slow but monstrous, like thunder promising to catch him no matter how fast he ran. The night hit him like a wall. Cold, wet air, thick with the reek of soil and corn dust. He didn't think, he just dove straight into the cornfield. Stalks slapped against his arms and face, scratching his skin, clawing at his jacket. The darkness inside the field was absolute, tighter, more suffocating than the open night. Each breath pulled dust into his lungs. He ran blindly, not daring to look back, but he could feel it, the presence behind him. Not running, no, walking, deliberate, unhurried. The farmer didn't need to chase. He knew the land. He knew Jack was already lost. The corn whispered around him, shifting with the wind, or maybe with hands. Every sound became too sharp, too meaningful. The crunch of his boots sounded like gunfire in the silence. His own breath roared in his ears. Jack's mind screamed, "Don't stop. Don't stop. Don't ever stop." But already, his muscles begged for mercy. The farther Jack pushed, the more the field seemed endless. He stumbled, fell into the dirt, scrambled up again. His palms were slick with mud, or was it blood? He couldn't tell in the dark. And then, he heard it. Not the farmer's steps. Not the wind. Something else. A voice. Low, broken, almost human. "Help, help." Jack froze, chest heaving. The voice came from ahead, deeper in the rows. He staggered forward, desperate for an ally, for anyone but the monster behind him. He pushed through stalks and leaves until he found it. A shape. At first, he thought it was a scarecrow. A figure strung up on wooden beams, arms outstretched. Then the smell hit him. Rot. Flesh. It was a body. The head lolled forward, the mouth split into a silent scream. The chest was torn open, ribs like broken gates. The whisper wasn't real. It was his mind bending under the sight. Jack staggered back, bow rising in his throat. He turned, and in the glow of the moon, faint between the stalks, he saw more. Rows of them. Dozens. Men, women, strung up, nailed into crucifixes of wood and rusting metal. Their faces hollow, their eyes eaten away. This wasn't just a field. It was a graveyard. Jack's knees trembled. His vision blurred. How long had this been happening? How many had wandered down this road before him? And then he heard it again. Not the whisper this time. A scrape. Metal against metal. the farmer's hook, dragging along the dirt, finding him by sound. Jack ran again, but there was no direction anymore. The corn all looked the same. He tried to count his turns, to hold on to logic, but panic erased everything. His chest ached, each breath sharp and shallow. He stumbled into a clearing, small, circular, surrounded by corn like a cage. In the center, a mound of earth rose, freshly turned. Jack's eyes adjusted, and his stomach dropped. It wasn't a mound. It was a pile. Bones. Splintered, cracked, still slick with bits of red. Skulls grinned up at him, jaws open as if still laughing at his hope. He collapsed to his knees, sobbing now, the weight of dread pressing on him. His thoughts spiraled. I'm not the first. I won't be the last. He doesn't even hunt for need. He hunts for joy. He hunts because the field never lets you out. Somewhere beyond the rows, the farmer let out a sound. Not a laugh. Not quite. More like a sigh. Deep, satisfied, patient. Jack clapped his hands over his ears, but it was inside his skull. And then he knew. The field wasn't just the setting. It was part of it. It was alive with his victims. The corn drank their blood, grew taller, stronger. The farmer wasn't just a man. He was the keeper of this cycle. And Jack? He had already been chosen the moment his car died. The night pressed closer. The whisper of the stalks grew louder, like they were chanting his name. Jack. 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 He stumbled backward, his boot cracking a skull in two, and in the distance, a flicker of light. His car's headlights, still glowing faintly. Salvation? Or bait? Jack burst through another wall of corn and stopped, chest heaving. His shirt clung to him with sweat, dirt streaked his face, and his lungs felt like they were tearing. Every row looked the same. He had been running for nearly an hour, but the field refused to end. Ahead, his car again. He could see the dull glow of the headlights, still cutting through the night. Somehow, impossibly, he was back where he started. No, 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 he whispered, stumbling forward. He slapped the hood, tried the door, locked. The engine was still dead. He slammed his fists against the glass until they bled. Behind him, the stalks rustled. Slow, deliberate. The sound of something large parting the corn, each step steady, patient. The farmer wasn't rushing. He didn't need to. Jack spun in circles, scanning the rows, but there was nowhere left to run. He's hurting me. He always was. The field belongs to him. The whispers of the corn rose again, louder now, a chorus of dead voices. Jack pressed his hands against his ears, tears streaking his dirt-stained cheeks. Please, he muttered, not even sure who he was begging. Please let me out. I don't want to die here. The field gave no answer. And then he appeared. From the shadows of the corn, the farmer stepped into the weak glow of the headlights. His frame was massive, blocking out the rows behind him. His face was pale, leathery, stitched with scars, his eyes pale like glass marbles. In his right hand, the rusted meat hook glistened with something dark. He stood only a few feet away, breathing heavy but steady, as if the chase hadn't touched him at all. Jack backed against his car, shaking. His voice cracked when he tried to speak. Why me? The farmer tilted his head, lips curling into something between a grin and a grimace. And then he did something worse than speak. He laughed. The sound was hollow, broken, like a crow choking on its own throat. It scraped against Jack's skull, made the air colder. Jack's legs buckled. He fell to his knees in the dirt. His body screamed at him to move, to fight, but terror had stolen his strength. The farmer stepped closer. The hook dragged along the ground, metal scratching against stone. Sparks jumped in the dirt. Jack tried one last time. He lunged to the side, sprinting into the rows. But his body was finished, his strength gone. He didn't make it 10 feet before the corn seemed to close in on him, tangling his arms, slapping his face. And then, pain. The hook tore through his shoulder, yanking him back with such force his scream ripped through the night. He fell, face first into the soil, choking on dirt. He clawed at the ground, but the farmer dragged him easily, his boots carving deep grooves behind him. "No! No! Please!" Jack screamed, his voice breaking, high and raw. The cornfield echoed it back, whispering it over and over. "Please! Please! Please!" The farmer hauled him into the clearing with the mound of bones. Jack saw the skulls again, their empty sockets staring at him, welcoming him. The farmer raised the hook high. Jack's last thought was bitter, sharp, almost absurd. It was never the car. It was never the road. It was always going to end here. And then the hook came down. The night swallowed his scream. The corn swayed, whispered, fell silent. Only the farmer's heavy breath remained, steady and endless, as he turned back toward the field.